Ho, 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 everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday, and you know what that means.
Front Office Friday Holiday Edition.
That's right. Tis the season, the holiday edition of the NBA Front Office Show. Our last show, Keith, until after Christmas. We got a lot to talk about today. I should have been more festive. I should have put on like my Santa hat and things like that. But
didn't dig mine out either, so
that's all
we're
right.
on the same page.
We'll bring the Christmas cheer through our words rather than through our appearance here. But let's get into it. We've got plenty to talk about here. I am in no way ready for Christmas. I've been frantically cleaning the house, doing everything I can. It is family is on the way. They will be here tomorrow, and yeah, I've got a lot to do. I feel a little bit like Kevin from Home Alone, like trying to clean everything up before his parents get home.
There you go. Yeah, we're low key Christmas here in the Smith house this year. It's just gonna be the family and then my mother-in-law. So very chill Christmas for us. But our problem right now, the younger dog, and he's not a puppy anymore. Last
Uh-oh.
year didn't even care about the Christmas tree, the presents, nothing.
Oh
Pretty much
no.
left everything alone. This year, he wants to pull everything out from under the tree, and he's just been kind of a mess. So, yeah, we're ready for time to open presents and get this thing going.
Not fun when the pets are trying to ruin
No,
Christmas. That's I've been dealing with that myself. Them pulling down ornaments and all sorts of things like that, which is just not ideal. Not ideal. All right, we've got plenty to talk about here. I know a lot of Lakers fans are begging for the Lakers to trade everybody right now because they're angry with the way things have gone over the last. It hasn't even been 2 weeks since the in-season tournament, and everybody's already prepared to burn everything to the ground. So we've got lots to talk about here. Let's start with this one. Said likelihood of Portland moving on from Anthony Simons to let Sharp and Scoot develop. What do you think? Do you think that he is the likely or one of the likely Blazers to get moved before the February 8th trade deadline?
yeah, I don't think so. I think he's still young. They love him. I believe they think he can fit in a 3 guard rotation with Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson, or the three of them can play together some. We'll see. That's something I think Portland will continue to experiment with as this season goes along. They lost at home to the Wizards last night, so Portland is full on in the yeah, we're just gonna figure stuff out now. Rest of this year, there's no real hope of them being anything better than a lottery team. So I think Simon sticks. Brogdon, probably they look for a trade for him if they can find one. That makes
Yeah.
sense, but I don't think Simons is going anywhere.
What's a realistic asking price on Brogdon?
Probably a late first, like a
Yeah.
good team. Give up a first, and then maybe as part of the matching salary, a young-ish player that could fit in Portland. Moving forward, it's not going to be a massive return for the Blazers
No.
for Brogdon. I think most teams realize at this point he is a good 6-man type, but probably not a guy you're plugging in and saying, "All right, lead us to the promised land here." Like that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, that seems about fair to me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty realistic there for you. And would honestly, I'd be surprised if he is still a Blazer past the trade deadline. I think it makes too much sense for him to trade him. Um, so let's talk a little bit about. Well, I guess we'll get into it here. Doug, not Dave McMenamin, said, "Hi Keith, Pistons fan, not Dave. Please, positive vibes." The Pistons, Keith, they did it. They found a way to lose to the Jazz that seemed like the Jazz were resting all their guys saying, "We're going to give you a win here." The Pistons said, No, thank you. You guys take this one." The streak continues. What is there positivity for the Pistons? How do we spread Christmas cheer to Detroit under the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, the fans were chanting "Sell the team" last
Yeah.
night, and fire Weaver and fire Monty, and that all went very very sideways. I would say if there's anything positive, starting group looked pretty good in this game. They played uh, better than even for most of the night with Utah. It was just the bench group came in and got absolutely rocked, and that was a major problem. I thought Cade Cunningham played pretty well in all phases of the game. I thought Jaden Ivey looked really strong in this one. Marvin Bagley had some nice plays and finishes. It's just, I don't know. I'm searching for you, Doug, not Dave. I don't. There's not a lot of good stuff to say right now. It's pretty ugly.
I mean, so the longest losing streak ever is 28, but
Yep.
that's over the course of 2 seasons.
Yep.
Do we know what is the longest losing streak ever?
26.
Of just it's 20 in just one season. It's 20.
Yeah.
So they're right there.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're right there. And
away.
I guess again, I go the Monica Geller. Like, at least you could say you're the best at being bad. We're the best ever if you set this record at being bad for losing 26 games in a row. There are 25 right now. You drop another one and they're right there. So that's the silver lining, I suppose. They're going to have a high draft pick, but when we get into the fire Monty, and we can talk about the job that Monty Williams has done, but he got a huge contract, like the richest coaching contract ever. And it seemed like that contract was kind of maybe to convince him to take a job that he didn't want that much.
And it's really long too.
And isn't it 7 years?
6, I believe. But
okay,
yeah, it's definitely long.
So that's like, there's no way they're firing him, right? They owe him way too much over way too many years to fire him and to move on from it. And at this point, what does that even do you? Like, you are so far out of it. I don't know. I mean, the pieces just don't fit there. I guess if we were to divvy up the blame pie here for the Pistons, the Christmas pie, where does the blame go for what's gone on right now in Detroit?
Yeah, I would say like 10% on the players, and then the other 90% split it 3 ways between ownership, Troy Weaver, and Monty Williams. Like, give them all an even fair pie, piece of that pie. It's the players, they're not completely blameless here. They are the ones that are out there every single night, but they are trying. Like, I know people keep saying they're tanking. They are not tanking. One, you don't tank like this. You don't tank to lose every single possible game you play. It's not that kind of draft. There's no one to be tanking for right now. And then that's just not where you're at. So they are not tanking. They are trying to win these games. Monty Williams makes lineup decisions that completely puzzle me almost every single night. Like, I don't understand a lot of what he does. Troy Weaver built this roster. Then ownership has enabled all of this. Like, ownership has enabled, let's go down this path and let's give, years and a ton of money to a coach who, to your point, probably didn't really want to be here. So yeah, give them all an even slice, give the players a little bit, and call it what it is.
Can't call it good. That's for sure. It sounded like you were going there. Can't call it good. They've got Brooklyn. So it's a home and away against Brooklyn, or an away and home against Brooklyn, and then Boston on the 28th. Like, and Brooklyn's pretty good. I'd have to say they're probably going to break this record, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they catch the Nets. You can catch the Nets on nights when they're not making shots and they're not rebounding, and they can be beat. That's why they're kind of hanging out there as as a 500-ish team. But it is an absolute mess. Like, I don't know. I don't have any faith. I thought last night would be the night, and they did not get it done. And now I am kind of looking at it saying, I don't know. I feel pretty sure they're not going to go 2-80. So I think they will win a handful more games. But have you seen the thing that's out there right now? Who's going to win more games, the Pistons or the Lions this season?
Oh, no.
And it's like a real legit thing that's going on. The Lions are, I'll pull it up right now.
They're good. They've been a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, they're 10-4 this year. Their remaining 3 regular season games are at Vikings, at Cowboys, versus Vikings. So Vikings are 500 fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Dallas, obviously, that's a really tough game. That's going to be for
So
seeding
they
and
could,
all
like,
sorts
it
of
wouldn't be
stuff.
impossible
So,
for them to finish with 12 wins.
yeah,
The
they could
Lions,
finish with 12 wins. They could finish with,
11.
even if they didn't win any more games. Let's go there. Let's say the
Okay.
Lions win no more games. Do the Pistons win more games than the Lions?
God, I mean, with 82 games, you'd have to think the answer is yes, that at some point, I mean, like they have the Raptors coming up. Maybe that's a game you can win. They go to Utah again. They've got, I mean, there's some, they play Washington. Fortunately, they're in the East, so they get Washington a number of times. So that helps. You get Charlotte here, another Washington. God, I don't know though. Like, there's only so many games against the Washingtons of the world and the Jazz of the world left.
Yep.
Yeesh. I think I might say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Lions win more games. Oh my gosh. That's
That's
scary.
stunning, right? That's
Right.
even, like, and that's we put it on the table for anybody just joining. If the Lions don't win another game, they're probably going to win at least a couple.
Yeah.
Uh, it that's crazy, right? To be
Wow.
there at this point. So yeah, it's I apologize, Doug Knock, Dave. Like, dude, this is it's. I wish we had more good stuff to say. I just
He's getting a
don't
lump of coal here.
Yeah, man. It's hard too because you just the kids, right? Like they're this isn't even a spot where it's like, all right, we'll just enjoy the young players and they'll stumble into a win here and there because a lot of times with Monty Williams, he's just not even playing the kids this way. So, he's playing weird lineups. Sometimes they get minutes, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're out there, they make one mistake and then they're pulled. It's just,
Hmm.
it is a mess all around. And I don't know how you fix any of this. Here's the big thing I will say. If you are the Pistons, if you have any thought in your mind, yeah, we're probably going to fire Troy Weaver at the end of this season, you have to do it now. You cannot let him run
Oh
the
yeah.
trade deadline because
Right.
don't let somebody who's not going to be there run the trade deadline. And I don't know that there is a move or set of moves he could make that would build them up enough, not to be good, obviously, this year. That ship has long since sailed.
But to
But to even
salvage
give
some
you
purpose from this season.
yeah, I don't know that there's anything that exists. And then what you worry about is there a bad trade or two that gets made and turns into a huge mess?
Wingstop needs to give the fans a consolation prize. Cade
Have you
scores
seen this?
30 or the Pistons. Yeah, they Wingstop had that promotion. The
Yeah,
Pistons win, and you get what, free
five,
wings or
five
something
free
like
wings. Yeah,
yeah. And they haven't won since. So, I mean, Wingstop made it out. But
yeah,
yeah, yikes.
yeah.
Yikes. That's not
It's
good.
it's bad all around.
Um,
All right, let's pick it up. Let's move on to something else.
well,
Yeah.
let's get to this. We'll give them some we'll give them
Pete,
something to look forward to. Our guy Pete said, "Happy holidays to you, Keith and Trevor. Same to you, Pete. If you're looking at Pistons realistic trades, where do you start? I'd have to think you start with Bogdanovich. I
yeah,
mean, he doesn't make any sense on this roster, especially right now. Teams are always looking for shooters. You can probably extract some value here. That's the piece on this roster that I think they have to move by the trade deadline. And I mean, they can say no, we don't want to move him, and he's good for us, and all that kind of stuff. And that may be true, but you didn't do it last year. I think they need to move him this year, get whatever kind of value they can, and then go from there.
yeah. I'll add Alec Burks, Joe
Mhm.
Harris, and Monte Morris to that too. Move all the veterans. There's no reason to keep any of them. Last year, you kind of understood the thought process behind. We didn't get what we wanted for Bogdanovich or Burks. We're going to keep them with the hope of this year will be better. We'll start to move things forward. That
Mhm.
did not happen. Now, Burks, Harris, Morris, those guys are all expiring contracts. I got to imagine they're all out of there no matter what next year, unless there's some reason that it's like, hey, we're going to way overpay you and bring you back, which that would be a disaster. And then Bogdanovich has that contract that's very lightly guaranteed for next season. I would be moving on and getting into a different spot. And it's not to say you have to give them away. It's not a just take whatever
No,
you can get for them situation, but move those guys, go get something positive, and start to build this thing up from there.
but these guys, and I need to look up their contracts here, but I know Bogdanovich is, but these are guys that if you don't trade them, teams are going to start poking around wondering, hey, are these guys potentially going to get bought out? Would that be an option? Because these are these are veterans. Morris is 28, Burks is 32, Bogdanovich is 34, Joe Harris is 32. These guys want to get into the postseason. They don't want to be stuck on a Pistons team that clearly is not going to. So I think, again, that behooves you even more to move them, find a trade. But if you don't, you're going to have their agents are going to be asking, hey, what can we do about a buyout to get my guy somewhere where he wants to go? So again, I think that this is a Pistons team that should be very motivated to get something done and be a seller at the deadline, which makes it more crazy that we heard the rumor earlier in the week that the Pistons may be looking to add to their roster at the trade deadline. That makes no sense.
Yeah, if it was at a young player that's under team control, fine. I have no issue with that. But yeah, with this, no way. Also, let's keep in mind Bogdanovich and Joe Harris. They both make $19-ish million this year each. If they're bought out, they can't sign with any of the teams that are over the apron. So none of the real title contenders that are up and over the apron can sign those guys because they're limited to signing players only to contracts that are, or rather, signing players that made less than the equivalent of the non-taxpayer mid-level this season. So that's one of the new rules this year with the buyout rules and all that stuff. So yeah, we're in a spot where not good for the Pistons, as far as that front either, because that limits their markets, really limits where they may want to go, and that just becomes real messy. So we're in a spot where get those guys traded. Harris, that one might be harder to pull off, just with the health issues and whatnot. But get those guys traded. I would say bottom this thing out, but it's when the ship is already at the bottom, there's no more bailing it out. It's time to get a new boat. So we just start over and start sailing in a different direction.
All right. The fake me said the only people talking about the in-season tournament are the ones saying it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, why are you constantly talking about it? Well, they're talking about it because the Lakers and the Pacers too have been terrible since the tournament. And maybe there's some kind of an effect where teams are burning themselves out or something like that, or there's just this energy kind of let down after that. But people are talking about it because now they've got an opportunity to run around and go, see, they're not really any good. The tournament doesn't matter. They're not actually a good team. You guys didn't accomplish anything. Because that's the world we live in, where everybody wants to take victory laps. And especially, we've talked about this earlier in the week, that especially for negative things, we want to shout from the heavens that we were right all along anytime you have an opportunity to do so. I've gotten like 5 or 6 of those tweets in the last 24 hours of, see, I said 3 months ago that this player was terrible and everyone else said he was great, but I was right. Oh my gosh, it's a fun place over on Twitter.
Yeah, social media is always good for that, right? And it's funny because they never come with the receipt, right? There's never I tweeted this at you, or it's like, okay, you made an outrageous take that happened to come true, and here we are. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anybody still complaining about the in-season tournament and still saying stuff. Now what I'm seeing more references back to is, to your point, the Lakers and Pacers, the two best teams in the in-season tournament, both have really struggled, and it's been a tough go for them outside of the in-season tournament. So I think that's the only time I'm seeing references back to it. But yeah, it's just a weird place.
It is. All right. Hi, would the Lakers need to give up more assets for DeMar DeRozan or for Zach LaVine? Big fan from Malta. That's it. First of all, welcome in from Malta. I believe that's got to be a first for our shows. I don't think I've heard Malta before. I've heard a lot of countries, but I don't think I've heard Malta. Yeah. So welcome in from Malta. We'll check off another country on the list there, but
we should get a board and we just fill them in,
right?
As,
push pins or something.
Check in as the front runners check in.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that. The Lakers give up more assets for DeMar LaVine. I see that's where the knee jerk or the instant gut reaction is, well, of course Zach LaVine. He's the better player. He's younger. All that stuff. But if you really see Zach LaVine as a negative, well, and on top of that, you have to stack up more salaries to get Zach LaVine because of the money we're talking about here. So I think the answer is probably still Zach LaVine. But if you see him as a negative value on his current contract, it might not be that close. And that might mean no Zach LaVine trade as well. If the Bulls say we
Sure.
don't see him as a negative value on his current contract. But it's probably not far off between the two if teams see Zach LaVine as a negative on the contract that he's got.
Yeah, I think in a complete vacuum, you're probably giving up more for LaVine just because of his age, but
Mm-hmm.
the contract, he's currently injured. That does swing it back to. I think it probably depends on the acquiring team, to be quite honest. If you're a team that is a title contender and you are right there and you feel like DeMar DeRozan is the guy to push us over the top, he's just easier to acquire just because of the contract. So maybe you're willing to give up a little bit more to go get him. And if you're a team that can one put together the salary easy for LaVine, and you have a little bit more of a runway, you might feel like, all right, we can go the LaVine route. So I don't know that it's a cut and dry answer of who has more real trade value, because I think it's heavily dependent on who's going to acquire them.
Yeah, exactly. That it's going to be an eye of the beholder type of situation. By the way, Keith, I just got sent the Lakers' latest injury report, and now Rui Hachimura is questionable with a wrist injury. I don't. Did you see the fall that he took last night?
I didn't.
It was pretty bad. It was one of those ones where he went to dunk and then he got challenged at the top and his legs went out.
Oof.
It was a rough one, but yeah, Rui Hachimura now added to the list as questionable for tomorrow, along with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Though I think they're going to get listed as questionable for every game from here on out moving forward. But that was rough. JJ Castillo said, "Merry early Christmas, Keith and Trevor. Hope you enjoy the holidays with your families. Huge fan of the NBA front office. Keep up the great work, you both." Well, thank you.
I
Really appreciate
that.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very nice.
We are going to do our best to enjoy the holidays, have as much of a relaxed day. I don't know, Keith, like our teams play each other on Christmas. Are you at a point where and I feel like this is almost a little bit arrogant because it's seen as a status thing to be one of the Christmas Day teams, but I'm at a point where I kind of wish my team wasn't playing on Christmas because it's so like I want to spend time with family and everything. And for what we do, like you kind of wind up getting locked away and you have to be away from the family in order to cover the team. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to Christmas. I kind of wish our teams weren't playing on Christmas and they played like the next day or something like that. So I could just shut down all of that stuff for the day.
Yeah, I would definitely prefer Celtics Lakers was not on Christmas. It feels like that's big enough anyway. You don't need the Christmas of it all. And I'm with you. There are, I don't know how many straight years now the Celtics have played on Christmas or the Lakers. I mean, it feels like it's all of them. And I know
even
that's
when they
not
were
true
bad, they were
anymore.
playing on Christmas.
Yeah, they both have been in there. So there are times when I do kind of feel like I would be okay if they didn't play. I do think you're absolutely right. It's a complete status symbol, right? Where you feel really good to be put on a Christmas game. So that's a huge deal. I'll say the one saving grace, at least for us, it's at 5 o'clock Eastern, and we're pretty much wrapped up by then with Christmas stuff. So at least the game's a little later. It's that if it's the noon game or the one after that, that's where it gets a little harder because we're usually still in the middle of doing stuff. So yeah, I'm with you. It's I know my family and the extended family, which is part of why I think they stopped coming for Christmas, is it's a work day. And they were just kind of like, all right, this sucks. We want to do stuff. And you're sitting in front of the TV watching games. So, that is I will own to that is like first world problem complaints there.
For sure.
I am not, don't get me wrong. Because I spent years, for anybody who doesn't know that's watching this, I think most do. I worked for Disney for years. So I spent years working in the theme parks on Christmas Day. I was out there and working in there, for usually very long days on Christmas. And people are not nice. If you've ever been to a Disney theme park on Christmas, it is one of the busiest days of the year, busiest time of the year. So it's I get out there. So I would much prefer watching NBA basketball games from the comfort of my own home than doing that ever again. But yeah, it's a but it's still, there are times when it kind of stinks.
So you worked the parks on Christmas Day. You were like actually
Yep.
out interacting with
Oh,
people
yeah.
in the park itself?
Yeah, for
Wow.
years, for like probably of the nearly 20 years I worked for Disney, probably 12 to 15 of them I worked on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Okay, so this is obviously not basketball related. We're going to do a little bit of unscheduled nonsense here.
Let's go.
What's some of the craziest stuff that you've seen while being out there and actually interacting with guests at Disneyland or
I
Disney
mean,
World, as it were?
yeah, and it was both. I did work at both Disneyland and Disney World. Um, so for me personally, I started my career as an intern working on the steam trains at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. The train does this thing where it comes into the station at the end of the night, all the way in the back of the park in what used to be Toontown, and then it would back out to go out to the roundhouse where it was. Well, guests would still be back there wrapping up their day, and they would try to jump the railings to try to get onto the train, and we would be like, whoa, 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 it's not going where you think it is. It's not going back up to the front of the park. I actually had a lady on Christmas working a parade shift where, like, basically keeping people out of the street during a parade. Her daughter ran in front of a parade float to try to take a picture. And like I like got her and got her back, and the lady screamed at me and yelled at me so much, and then ripped. You could see them on the wall behind me, my name tags.
Yeah.
Ripped my name tag off of my shirt and ripped like a huge hole in my shirt because she was
Whoa.
so incensed. Yeah, people get crazy. It's not a fun time to work. You would think people would be reasonable, but it's like they get there at 7 o'clock in the morning when the park's open, and then there's generally on Christmas Day there's about 75,000, 80,000 people in. That's Magic Kingdom alone, and it'll be absolute nightmare. It's like I'm glad to never do it again. Like I
So
did not enjoy it.
so her daughter was like about to get run over,
There
and
was
you play
enough
the you
room, but you still can't be running in front of parade floats. Like that's
sure.
the reality. Yeah. So like, yeah, and she was mad. She's like, why would you touch my kid? All she was trying to do is get a picture. All right, because she's in the middle of the street with a parade float coming right at her. Like that's
Yeah.
why. And
Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
next thing
people
you know,
get
she trips, she falls down. Next, and you got a big
oh yeah,
problem on your hands. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I have enough stories. Like I could write a whole book about things that happened when I worked in the theme parks and all that. And everybody, who's ever worked there can tell you a lot of the same stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of craziness that goes on inside the theme parks with the guests, and a lot
All
of.
right.
Do you know how much I paid to be here? Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
It's
yep,
it's a lot, and it's more and more every year. I know. If
yep,
you ever go back and you look at even the numbers with inflation, what it cost to get into Disneyland, like when you and
yeah,
I were kids, compared to now,
yeah,
whew,
yeah,
it's
yep.
expensive.
Sure
It's
is.
expensive. All right, let's head up north. Let's go to Toronto. Morning, gents. Any updates on the Raptors front?
Yeah, nothing really
Yeah.
yet. The G League Showcase has been going on here all week, so I've been able to see a lot of people here in Orlando. I've been hanging around with a lot of people, and just a lot of conversations. And the Raptors remain kind of team confusion. You've got people who firmly believe they have to trade Siakam, Anunoby, Trent, or
Hmm.
get them re-signed because they really feel like you're in a spot where they could just walk again. And if they don't walk, like that's nuts, right? So it really does get kind of crazy. So it's that's what they've got to do. They've really got to think about that. So I think we're in a spot where most teams expect Toronto will be active, but that's the same story from the last couple of years, and it hasn't
Hmm.
really happened. So I don't know that anybody is fully bought in to them doing a whole lot.
Yeah, it's the kind of you kind of been burned by them so many times that you're going to be a little bit wary going into
Yeah.
this with all these Raptors rumors. Are they really going to do something? Or is this going to be another year where, oh, the Raptors are going to make a big move? They're going to do something. They're going to, and then they do nothing
Yep.
or they end up being a buyer instead of a seller. John Drake, do you think Atlanta will trade DeJounte Murray and Bogdan Bogdanovich? A lot of people look at Atlanta and they say, well, they have a superfluous guard because you've got DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. Why have both of them? Should you make a move here? What are your thoughts on that backcourt? And then Bogdanovich.
Yeah, I don't think Bogdanovich goes anywhere. They did, and I know this is weird because they also did just re-sign Murray. But Bogdanovich is on a very friendly contract for what he is. If they were a little bit better, he'd probably be getting more love for six man of the year because he's been that good. And his contract really, he's got 18.7 this year, 17.3 next year, 16 million. Then his final year is 16 million, but it's also a team option. So you've really only got 2 years left after this season. Whereas Murray, year into his contract goes from 18.2 and jumps up to basically 25.5 and then goes up from there, finishing at 31.5 4 years from now. So that becomes a spot where I think Murray maybe, because you also have Trae Young. It's become increasingly clear that's not a fit that is perfect and probably isn't going to work really well. So I think that they may listen on Murray and kind of see where it goes. But for the most part, yeah, I think it's Bogdanovich is less likely. Maybe Murray goes somewhere, but this is probably again one that goes into the off season and they have to figure it out there.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I agree there. I think that's what we're going to see. It's going to be more of a summertime thing with them. John also asked, Danny Green for the Lakers, you in or you out? I don't know if Danny Green's got anything left at this point. I mean, I would love to say yes, and he's going to come back and be. I always want these guys. People talk about. See, people get mad at me, Keith. People get mad at me because I say Dwight Howard, Boogie Cousins. These guys, they don't have it anymore. That's the most likely outcome. That's not what I want to see. And Danny Green's the same thing. I would love Danny Green to come back into the NBA and be great again, but just the likelihood of it happening is just it's slim.
You know what I always say, and especially at this time of year with trade season and buyout season, every player becomes a point where they're more name than game. And once you get to that point, that you just don't have a lot left. And if the Lakers wanted Danny Green, I'm sure they would get Danny Green. I'm sure he would be happy to go. I'm just not sure where he has a lot left. The second half of this question, I know there's a PR hit, but for the price, would you take Miles Bridges? I think for the Lakers specifically, I don't know where you play him. Like maybe if you made other trades, like let's just say they made the Zach LaVine trade and it was something like Mitchell and Hachimura, then maybe you either rope Charlotte in as a third team or you go get Bridges separately if you could pull that off, because then you've
Do you mean Russell and Hachimura?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Mitchell.
Oh, sorry. You know what it is? Someone's talking about Mitchell in the chat, and I get distracted. You're right.
Okay.
Russell and Hachimura. So if you did Russell and Hachimura for LaVine, then now you've opened up a forward spot in your rotation. So yeah, I would think then you'd probably go for you, or not probably, but you could go for Bridges. It would make a lot more sense. But as it stands right now, today, if they're not doing anything else, I don't know. For me, the lack of goodwill is greater than the need for Miles Bridges. I just don't know. In a vacuum, Miles Bridges would probably be the third best big on the Lakers behind Davis, and that's what I consider LeBron now. But I don't like. I don't know. Like, is he so much better than Hachimura or Prince that you really need to go that way? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, agreed. I think this is not a Lakers team. It's almost like we get stuck in this because for years they've been starving for wings. Now they've got wings. It's not that's not really necessarily what they need right now. Doug McMenamin said, "Love both of you. Happy holidays. Pistons to be okay." Hope so.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, they'll get there. I mean, I don't know. It might be another couple years, but they'll get there eventually.
Here's another one. Keith, if you were the Lakers GM for the rest of the season, what changes would you make if you weren't a Celtics fan? Because I know your answer would be trade LeBron and AD to the Celtics. Same question for Trevor for the Celtics. All right, I'll let you go first.
I wouldn't trade LeBron and AD. I'd bench both of them and
bench them both. There you go.
Anymore. Yeah, all the way through the rest of their contract. No, yeah. What would I do? This is tough, and I'm promise I'm not like I'm doing this like outside of any form of fandom. I would probably be very cautious of making a major move right now that would
Mhm.
take me out of maybe that same major move being available next summer, meaning this coming summer. Um, the LaVine stuff, I kind of get it, right? I think the Lakers could use another on ball creator and just a little more juice in their offense. But that's it, right? You make that move, that's kind of now we've made it, right? And we're locking in and we're locking into LaVine and AD for multiple years, and everything's gonna have to function around them, meaning the way we build the roster. Obviously, for as long as LeBron is there, he still, is driving that ship. But
Mhm.
I think it becomes this is kind of what our team is. Not that there wouldn't be other moves that they could make, because there still would be a handful of other things they could do. But I would have to be 100% sold that LaVine is the guy to lift us to contending for another title. And I'm just not necessarily there, given where everything is at and what his contract is and all those things. So I would wait, because let's say what happens if in the summertime it becomes Donovan Mitchell's available, then what do you do? Right now, you're kind of like, man, we went for LaVine, and maybe we could have got involved on Mitchell instead. And that's
Mhm.
a little harder because he's probably going to return a much bigger package if and when the Cavs do decide to trade him. But it does just get to an interesting spot. I would be very, very cautious. That's why also I do think there's a lot of it is some guys can't be traded right now. But I think the Lakers are playing it smart and just wait and see. Because who knows who will be available a month from now when we're only a couple weeks out from the deadline.
Yeah, that's the exact take that I've been giving over on Lakers Nation too. To be careful with the Zach LaVine thing, that it's not just is Zach LaVine worth player X, Y, and Z from the Lakers. It's what's the opportunity cost? What are you missing out on down the road potentially if you make that move? Um, as far as the Celtic side of things, I mean, it would be stuff that we don't have access to today, like a time machine. The Celtics need to just fast forward to the playoffs, and that way they can preserve all of their players as healthy as they possibly can. 'Cause that's the biggest thing, right? That's got to be the biggest concern, is that somewhere over the next few months, as we get towards playoff season, guys start getting bumps and bruises and all of that, and start getting a little beat up, and then you're not healthy come playoff time, because this team clearly seems to be the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference. Are there teams that can give them a run? Absolutely, but if you're the Celtics, just start the postseason and let's not risk Porzingis anymore. Let's not risk any other injuries derailing things. Just get there and get there healthy. I think that's the most important thing. I do think that their efforts to go and find a little bit more depth off the bench, that's important. That would be my focus point in terms of things that we can actually do. But otherwise, it's really just you've got to play through the rest of the season. You got to keep your rhythm. You got to keep momentum. And the most important thing, you've got to stay healthy for the next few months. That is the big thing that you got to get done.
I mean, everybody wants a little bit more depth and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then, that sounds great. And we'll see, maybe they'll make a small move to bring in some depth. But for the
Nothing
most
big.
part, it is what it is. And I think with the Celtics, you're absolutely right. It's just keep the guys healthy. They are, I believe, with their main group together, they're 14-1. Their one loss was to Philly very early in the season. So that is they're they're good when they have all those guys. Like they're just really good. They're tough to beat when they have their main group together. Their scoring differential is it's absurd. In the regular starting five of Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Holiday, and White, they're like plus a billion. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just a hard group to score on, hard group to keep from scoring. So yeah, it's maybe there's a depth piece to be added, but for the most part, it's get there healthy. That's all that really matters. Just get them there healthy, and then we'll see where things go.
All right. Jeremy said happy front office Friday and happy holidays. Same to you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Dream fit trade destination for Siakam, Lowry, Anunoby, LaVine, also Cunningham if he wants out of Detroit. I won't go as far as saying Cunningham's going to get moved. I
Yeah,
mean,
I take
anything
it.
could happen to Detroit, but um, the best fit is it weird that for basically all of these guys, the Pacers are like the first team to jump into my mind,
No,
right?
because it's especially for the three forwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the
Yeah, I'm with
Pacers
you.
would be great fits for all of these guys. They could be excellent. So they're a team that certainly you can keep an eye on. What is that the most fun landing spot too, just because of their offense and how good it's been and how quick they play, or are there other teams you think that would be equally fun for these guys to go to?
Yeah, I mean, Ananobi is such a plug and play guy because
Yeah.
he is kind of the now what we think used to be 3 and D players were like smaller wings. He's a bigger wing, but that's really what a 3 and D player's become. So I think he's very easy, plug and play. I would, love to see Lauri Markkanen on a team that could use maybe one more big. Oklahoma City is a team for me where I think he would be
Ooh.
incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I think, you put him in that starting group and uh, probably move Dort or Giddy out. That, man, like
They could win the whole thing.
yeah, how do you defend that team? And his number's small. That's pretty easily to acquire, right? It's very tradable. So yeah, LaVine, I don't know. I struggle a little bit with that one for the things we already talked about. Siakam, yeah, I'd love to see him in Indiana. Give them a real power forward, let them kind of do some stuff. And I like Obi Toppin, but Siakam is just a better player. So yeah, that's probably the ones that jump to mind for me right now.
Yeah. Orlando, do they get in the mix, you think, for any of these guys?
I don't think so. I mean, because challenge with Siakam, Markkanen, and Anunoby, they've got guys at those positions. They've got Paulo and
Yeah.
Franz, and those are the guys you want to grow with. And LaVine, it doesn't feel like their kind of move, and it feels like a year too early. We've seen this week for the Magic, they lost twice to the Celtics, the Heat, and the Bucks. It kind of came back to earth a little bit of, all right, we're a good team, but we're not quite there yet. Right. And
Mhm.
that's fine. Like that's like it's funny because a couple people were like, I can't believe you're criticizing them. I'm not. Like it's fine. Like they're better than we thought they would be. They're just not in the tier with the title contenders in the East, and that's okay. It's just they'll get there and they'll get there eventually. I hope, and just none of these guys jump out at me. LaVine is probably the closest, but again, you got to be sure that that's the move, and that you're good with locking in for four
Yeah.
years and hundreds of millions of dollars. Otherwise, let's just hold off.
All right, this one it says Grizz are back, definite 4 or 5 seed. I don't know if they're going to make up that much ground. That's a lot. That's
Yeah,
a lot of ground to
let's
make up.
check in on that right now. So
Yeah, where are
they
they at currently?
are 8.5 out of the Kings and the Clippers are right now 4-5, and the Grizzlies are 8.5 back. So, and that's with having to climb 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams to get there too.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I would say, yeah, that's unlikely. Orlando and
Play-in
Charlotte looking
tournament,
to
I'll put that on the table. But four,
sure,
five seed, no,
sure.
too much.
Orlando and Charlotte looking to make a trade. I think those two teams look to make deals. I mean, I think Charlotte will be the more aggressive team between the two, or should be anyway, the more aggressive team between the two at the trade deadline.
Charlotte's in a little bit of a weird spot because there's a pretty widely held belief that this is probably it for Mitch Kupchak. So it's not fully certain what ability ownership is going to give or approve for him to make trades
Hmm.
on. So that becomes a little bit of a challenge there. They've got a lot of expiring salary. They've got some tradable guys. So maybe something happens, but I think we may see the Hornets be closer to, let's just kind of ride this thing out. Maybe it's a smaller move around the edges. I do think Bridges could be in play if there's a team that can talk themselves into, we'll take him, because if there is, then that's tradable. It doesn't seem overly likely like Bridges is going to stay in Charlotte beyond this year. So we'll see what that becomes. But yeah, I would probably say don't be expecting a lot out of the Hornets. Just transition going on there big time with the new owners. They're going to want their own front office, probably their own coach and all that. Orlando, they'll be active, and they've got some tradable salary. They're looking for shooting for the, I don't know, 15th consecutive year. It feels like the Magic don't have enough shooting,
Mhm.
but we'll see where that goes to. So again, they'll be active. They'll try, but I don't think it's going to be a crazy at major blockbusters out of them either.
What about Terry Rozier in Charlotte? He's been playing well enough to where that's got to be getting some attention from other teams, or is that just too big of a move? If Mitch Kupchak is indeed kind of a lame duck at this point, is that something that you could see getting done?
Yeah, the interesting thing with Rozier, and the final year of his contract is so heavily guaranteed. It's 26.6 million, but basically 25 million of it is guaranteed, which
Whoa,
I also don't
that's
even
bizarre.
understand. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
like why
weirdest
even?
thing. I'm not yeah, I don't know why it's that way. But I think the number could be what teams might be like, is
Mhm.
he really a $25 million a year player? I think that's what teams are going to be kind of asking themselves of, do we want to lock into to that big of a number for Terry Rozier? When I think for most teams, they'd probably be looking at it saying, he's probably ideally a bench scorer, bench guard on a really good team. And I'm not so sure that's where they want to go.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we've got here before
Saw
we.
one in there. Somebody asked something about Sekou Doumbouya, I think. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I
Oh, is
yeah, I don't
this?
know. I haven't seen anything. He's not playing in EuroLeague, so not sure where that's coming from. He's on a B division team in Greece, as far as I know. I think it's a oh, I guess it is an A division team, but I'm not seeing any. I'm not even seeing any stats for him popping up. So I don't know. I'd have to dig into it more. Not a name anybody mentioned to me about anything recently.
No,
Did you know
that's
though
that.
he's only 22?
That's insane.
Yeah, right.
He's only.
Yeah, he's
How
only
is that possible?
do you want or actually tomorrow he'll turn 23. So
Still,
happy
gosh,
birthday.
that's like
Thank you,
Andre
Doumbouya.
Drummond refused to turn 30 for like 10 years.
Right? Yeah. It just feels like he's been around forever. So yeah.
Um, so did you before this question came up, did you already know that Sekou Doumbouya was on a second division or first division, whatever it really is, team in Greece? Or did you look it up when you saw this question?
I knew he was playing in Greece. I didn't know what division the team was with or what team like he was on. But I knew he was
Because
playing in Greece.
like I think most people, even most basketball people, if you ask them where is Sekou Doumbouya, they would not know. They would not know that I certainly did not. I would have no idea where he was playing.
Yeah, I knew.
That's
I,
funny.
I only knew because I had seen it when he signed with the team, and I knew the team was like they were kind of like a borderline team that kind of is. Like they're up and down because there's the promotion relegation system in most leagues in Europe. But yeah, I knew he was there. I just didn't know exactly. Couldn't remember what team, and I couldn't remember their status. But how I know it's a little bit of a weird situation is um there's no stats on what he's done. So let me see if I can find something here. Just because Real GM usually has all this stuff. Um, yeah, he's not. There's nothing listed for him at all. So I don't know if he's even actually playing.
He might just
So
be
I'm not
there.
sure.
Maybe he's hurt. We don't know.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, it's I'm probably gonna butcher this, but Marusi is the team that he's on. But yeah, I don't. But nothing's popping with him stat wise for them. Let me
Hmm.
check a box score here. Panathinaikos. That's always a good one to take a look at. And he didn't play. So yeah, I'm
He's
not
getting
sure what's going on with
DNP'd
him.
there.
But
Well,
I knew he had gone to Greece. So I don't know.
all right. Last one we'll do.
You
We'll do
said
this.
stop
Just
being humble with your basketball knowledge.
the fake me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stop being
big you
humble with
said
your
that.
basketball knowledge. Would you all do the LaVine trade for the Lakers if it was just matching salary? So we talked about the opportunity cost. If you're not factoring in no picks or anything like that, the Bulls just say, well, the Lakers reportedly have the perspective of would be doing the Bulls a favor by taking the contract off their hands. If the Bulls say, look, if you'll take his contract and just give us matching salaries, we'll do it. So we're talking Rui, D'Lo, and like Gabe Vincent or something like that. You're not giving up like future pieces. Are you doing that, or does the opportunity cost still cause you to say, maybe we pump the brakes on this?
I think I will. I think I would do it then. I think I would probably feel confident enough because I didn't invest a whole lot in getting him. At that point, that's not. I'm not trying to denigrate any of the players they would trade there, but it's like those are guys that, quite frankly, they're all signed to contracts designed to eventually be traded. So yeah, I think I would probably go that. I probably would. If you're getting like Torrey Craig, and then let's assume he could come back healthy, then I think it's then I think
It's an easy.
that swings it
Yeah.
quite a bit. That makes it easy. Drummond, I don't know. Lakers been there, done that. Andre Drummond has played well for Chicago. I'm just not sure the Lakers want to go back down that path again.
They just need somebody with some size. They just have there's just nothing there. But I think I guess it comes down to this. If you're a no on that, then you're out on Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're a no, otherwise you get to a point where you'd have to be telling the Bulls, okay, we'll take him if you throw in a first or something like that. And the Bulls are never going to do something like that. Like that's not going to happen. So if you're a no on just matching salaries, then you're out on Zach LaVine to the Lakers.
Great point. Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't really think about it that way, but yeah, if you're not willing to do it for so little, in relative terms, then yeah, you're probably looking at that's probably a good way to think of it. Then you're not looking to do that. Pete checked in and said Doumbouya was cut at the end of September. So he basically was cut at the end of training camp in Greece. So that would be why he wasn't showing up anywhere. So I hadn't seen it. But yeah, so definitely not killing it in the EuroLeague.
No.
Definitely not. Because I was like, we don't even think that team's in EuroLeague. But yeah.
Our fun Christmas episode where we talked about Keith's experiences at Disneyland and we played Where in the World is Sekou Doumbouya.
Perfect.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Love it. Yeah. The guy who asked the Grizzlies question said just meant the Grizzlies will play to that level in the playoffs. Okay, that's more fair. Sure. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. They could definitely definitely be a team by the time they get in that nobody wants to see the proverbial, nobody wants to play them in the playoff. Challenge is, and I know all the Lakers fans in here know, when you have to push that hard just to get there, how much you're gonna have left in the tank to really fully finish the job. And the Lakers did great getting to the West Finals, and they ran out of gas. I felt like they didn't have enough left to really push through. So we'll that's fine. I think that's a fair statement to make, though, that they could play at the level of a 4 or 5 seed for sure. They're fun again. Like they're just fun, man. I don't know. I just love watching Ja play basketball.
He's great.
He's just so great. Like, and Desmond Bane looks good. Jaren Jackson Jr. looks good, right? Like those guys they look so happy and excited that he's there, and they're really playing well, man. They're fun to watch again. Like it's good, and I know they rubbed everybody the wrong way with all their trash talk and all that stuff, but I kind of loved it, like, because more often than not they backed it up. Like, I know they got knocked out in the playoffs eventually, but like they backed it up, so I'm okay, with them, doing all the trash talking and everything. Like, I no issue with that, and they're fun again. There's a lot of fun teams this year, like there really is. That just which makes it good, because like, and I like tonight, this schedule tonight's kind of gross. There's not a lot of good games tonight. I think Suns Kings is the best one. That's not till 10:00. So it's that's the
it's 7 o'clock. It's a 7 o'clock game. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, not here. That might be a 7 o'clock in the morning game tomorrow. Might be when I watch that. That's what happens quite often in those late night games. They turn into a tomorrow morning watch for me.
Man, I can't. I am still the night owl. I like 2 a.m. is like my early bedtime. but that's me.
Good on you, man. Right. I can't do it anymore.
That's how I grew up, though. That's part of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for joining us.
Yeah.
This was fun. We're gonna be off for a few days. We'll be back on Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll still be friends on Tuesday after the Lakers play the Celtics on Christmas.
Dude, we made it through camera gate. I think we'll be just fine.
Yes. Somehow we'll make it.
If something like that happens on Christmas, man, that'd be a trip, because that's like the whole world watching, like, is Christmas Day. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man.
will say the one bummer, the 5 o'clock game is often the one where I'm like half napping, like
Yeah.
at that point in the day. So yeah, we'll see, where it goes. But I'm excited, man. That'll be fun. Yeah, we'll still be friends. We've made it through some challenges. It's probably going to take a game 7 of a finals to truly test our friendship at
Oh,
some
for sure.
point
And
between.
it would take like a bunch of controversial calls and all kinds of
Yeah.
things. All kinds of
Somebody
things.
just very quickly asked, do we know if KP is playing? He should be. The only reason he was out the other night was because they were basically resting him. They're going to probably split on back-to-backs. He'll play the front end, or he'll play the second game. Horford will play the first game. Seems like that's kind of where they're going with this, at least for as long as Porzingis is dealing with it. The bigger question is, can Jason Tatum go? He's got a sprained left ankle. We'll see if he plays. They're playing Saturday, tomorrow afternoon against the Clippers. So we'll see what it looks like with that. Or do we get into a spot with where everybody's ready to go on Christmas Day? So we'll see.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you again for joining us. Appreciate it. And make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Till next time. See ya. Stay safe. Have a very Merry Christmas.